So the purpose of this segment is just to go over some of the basic things that are on the syllabus. So my name and office location there in South Hall on the 3rd floor. Email is the best way to get in touch with me. I check my email multiple times a day. So if you're ever looking to get in touch with me, that's the best way. Notice I didn't even list my office phone because I don't even want to set up my voicemail box because then I'd have to remember to check it. And I like to just have all my messages go to one place, which is email. Notice under office hours, I have both in-person office hours scheduled and a remote office hour scheduled. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those are the days when I am typically off campus observing student teachers. Okay, so I observe the math student teachers when they go out. That's a big part of my job here on campus, and I'll be talking about that as we get into our first lesson on that role that I play here on campus with training the math teachers that are going to be high school teachers. So anyway, I will, and I'm very conscious about it, like on the week of a test, if you've got a test coming up, I'll make sure I schedule some office hours at some point on the Tuesday and Thursday. And now that we do so much remotely by Zoom, and I can just do Zoom office hours from the comfort of my own home, that really opens up, I think, possibilities for me being accessible at different times that should work for students. So course materials, the wonderful news is you don't have to buy a book. And honestly, I can't even tell you how freeing it became to me probably, I don't know, maybe like 8 years ago or so, when suddenly I realized I didn't have to make students buy textbooks. When I first started teaching, that's just what you do. Students had textbooks. I really like that we've gotten away from that. It's cheaper for you. And honestly, I prefer to make my own materials. One thing that I think is a disadvantage, though, of not having a textbook is I feel like when there's no course textbook where the material is organized in a nicely bound book by chapter, I feel like students have a harder time staying organized. And so notice here, I don't mean to treat you like a middle schooler or anything. I'm not going to do notebook checks or anything like that, but I really think that you need to come up with some sort of method for organizing all the handouts that I'm going to give you. I'm going to post a lot of things online, right? So they'll be on the Canvas modules. One thing that you need to be aware of, though, with Canvas is at the end of the semester, all those materials that you don't download go away. So you don't own them anymore. So those of you that are taking this class and might later take a different related math class, you'll want to download everything, and you decide how you want to organize yourself. Do you want to be organized on your computer, right, where maybe you make digital folders, label them by weeks or by chapters? Of course, I'm an 80s girl from way back, but I kind of like the old-fashioned way where you get a 3-ring binder, buy yourself a hole punch, and as I give you all these things to print, you print them out, you put them in there right along with the loose leaf paper that you'll take notes on during class, that you do your homework on, and that way you've got everything right in order in a great big 3-ring binder. That would be my suggestion. But one of the things that I just notice about students coming to me for help, and I talk about, this handout and this paper, and I feel like students' papers are just so all over the place. So give some time to think about how you're going to organize yourself here. Course objectives. So we're going to talk in the opening activity about what discrete math is. So I'm actually really not going to get into it much here, but there are certain requirements that the college has about what has to be on your syllabus, and I have to list the course objectives on the syllabus. Now, before you've taken a class, they don't mean anything to you. But what you should be able to do is you take your final exam in December, you pull your syllabus back up, you read the list of things it says we're supposed to learn, and you say, yeah, we learned that. One exception is I often don't get to a whole lot in the way of graph theory. I might only be able to do 1 or 2 activities. And that is something that's in the learning outcomes that, again, I try to touch on, but don't do too much. So again, these are the things that I'm supposed to cover in the course. And a syllabus is kind of like a contract, right? The contract says, this is what I'm supposed to teach you, and this is how you get assigned your grade, right? And so at the end of the course, you should be able to look back and say, yes, Mrs. Harris, you taught me what you were supposed to. This note I've talked about in the past video. So here's how you're going to be graded. I do 3 in-class exams, and so about once a month. And then problem sets, because of the fact that you'll be graded on your ability to write mathematically at certain places, you really will want some feedback before you're taking a written exam. So before every exam, there is either 1 or 2 problem sets that will be collected prior to each exam. Okay, so the problem sets are listed here. The in-class group problems, and I don't announce those ahead of time. That is sort of my way to give you incentive to come to class every day. And then just in case you like to plan ahead, right? There's your final exam, December 15th from 12 to 3. And I have 2 different grade options where I call the second one the better late than never option. Because the course does build, as most math classes do. Math classes are typically cumulative, and this one's no different. And so if you have a little trouble in the beginning, but you stick with it and you figure some things out, and sometimes what happens is students can really struggle a lot, and then all of a sudden they get that aha moment where they get over the hump. And this was so many years ago when I was actually a student at SUNY Geneseo myself. And I thought discrete math was actually one of the math classes I struggled with the most. So don't let that scare anybody, but we're going to do something which is learning to write some mathematical proof. And for the longest time, that just dumbfounded me. I would see the word prove and I would just panic and I wouldn't know what to do. But all of a sudden, once I came to understand what that meant and what I needed to do, it was sort of like the dam broke and suddenly I was able to do it. And I really got over the hump, so to speak, when I took discrete math as a student. So that's part of the reason why I like to reward students who just keep plugging away at it. And, if you struggle on your first test, just keep trying. Okay. And I like there to be a grade option that really rewards the student who, at the end of the course, does finally end up being able to pull it together better. So here's my grade scale. Some of my policies, I always talk about the 24-hour rule. Okay, so what you can't do, if you missed a test, you couldn't email me 2 days later and say, hey, I missed a test, can I make it up? Like, that might have worked in high school, doesn't work here at the college level. So you need to let me know within 24 hours, especially if you miss an important thing, like a test. I talk about quizzes, but I've really never used quizzes in this class. So also if a problem set was due that day, as long as you get in touch with me and let me know what happened, I'm a commuter, I've got a flat tire out on 390, let me know the reason that, it might take you, and then get your assignment into me within 24 hours. This I've had on my syllabus literally since I started teaching in 2007. And the more we're getting into like being able to submit everything online and things like that, I feel like we run into less and less of students not being able to get me their problem sets. Probably at this point, all of you have Cam Scanner on your phone, which you probably had from last year with COVID, and can just take pictures of everything and upload them. So that's probably less of an issue now that we are in the modern day of 2021 and post-COVID. Some COVID changes, honestly, are not for the worse, I think. So continuing on here, we're going to do some group work in class. And obviously, if you're not in class, you can't participate in it. And I've got the policy that unless, of course, you are absent for an extenuating circumstance, which I handle those on a case-by-case basis. All right. And I'm very understanding. If you come to me and said, hey, something's going on and, I'm out of class, I understand that. The one thing that I'm very not so understanding of, and I seem to get this student, usually about 1 or 2 students like this every semester that, just have emergency after emergency. All right. And I always tell students, whatever the first thing you tell me, I'm going to believe you. Okay. So if you tell me I missed class because my grandpa's in the hospital, I'm just going to believe you. Okay. I've had grandparents, they've been in the hospital. It's never made me have to miss my obligations. But, if for some people, it's a distance, whatever you tell me, the first thing you tell me, even if I feel like it doesn't ring so true, I just believe the first thing you tell me. Then you come to me and, you have another, well, this week I have strep throat. Okay. Well, then the week after that, well, listen, now my car broke down. Okay. At that point, as soon as I start hearing, and I don't know if it's getting to be into my old age, the sound of excuses, they just grate on my ears. You know how old people like they don't like loud music. They just certain sounds start to bother you more with old age. I mean, you guys might not know this, but old people have that reputation of they don't like rock and roll music, things like that. Because just certain things start to sound differently on your ears as you get older. And I'm definitely to the point in my life where students giving me excuses, they just don't sound well to my ears. And I think I have a pretty good ear for hearing excuses when students give me those. So if your grandfather's in the hospital and you want to go visit him, by all means, you put family first. But by your fourth or fifth grandfather, I'm probably suspicious and not going to be so understanding. So anyway, you have a maximum of twice that you can make up these classwork assignments, either in my office or possibly you can do them on your own. And you have a week to do so. So what that means is you can't in December say, hey, I've got some zeros from back in September. Can I do something about them? All right, you have a week to make up any of those participation assignments. So this is just talking about doing your homework. Not going to read you the whole syllabus. Things that we have to do related to the pandemic. So again, if there are absences where you are feeling unwell, even if you're fully vaccinated with COVID and you really think you've got just the normal cold, the college is asking you to be extra cautious about staying home with any possible signs or symptoms of, a cold flu type illness. So I will make sure that there are accommodations in place for any students who are absent for that reason, but make sure you're proactive about communicating with me. Okay, you just have to let me know so that I can work with you. Accessibility, if you have accommodations letters, one thing that you should be aware of with the accommodations at the college level is the requirements and fall entirely on you to make up those to request the accommodations. Okay, so you have to let me know and let me know with enough advance about how you wish to take advantage of your accommodations and what arrangements you want to make for an alternative location and time for your exam. So if we were in class, I would say any questions. But I think at this point, if any questions came up, either email me or wait until we're in class together and you can ask me then. So thanks for hanging in here and listening.